Hey guys, Ben here with Sugar Ridge Farm. Today we're going to do a little brush hog property maintenance, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of my thoughts on the NRCS, the programs they offer, and our stance on it. So come along with me. We're going to do some cutting and some talking, and I'm going to show you some examples of the things we're doing. Alright guys, so for those of you that don't know, the NRCS is a program put on by the government where they give you funding basically to your farm to do environmentally friendly projects with your farm. So I've got one example of it right here, where if you look out there is our cow pasture. Right next to me is a drainage ditch or canal, whatever you want to call it, and then we've left this buffer zone around it. That's the types of things that the NRCS wants you to do. Now, I can't keep both sides full of brush because the parish will come in and clean it up. So whether I'm in the program or not, the parish is going to come in and clean this ditch up if one side of it is not clean. So that kind of gets back to one of the main points of my take on the NRCS. So we went through the whole thing with the NRCS where we went and met with them. We talked through all the programs they have to offer. We looked at the programs that would fit our needs, and it all sounded great, except for one part that we couldn't deal with. And that's basically the NRCS wants, they don't just give you the money to do the projects and leave you to your own license. So what happens is you lose a little bit of control of your property. So it was a substantial amount of money that they were willing to offer us for a contract, but it was for 3 years, and it wasn't all the things we wanted. So you can see we want to be good stewards to the land and our animals, but we don't want to be restricted by the NRCS and bound financially to repay all this money if we did not fulfill everything that they requested. So most of the stuff sounds good, but you end up, I'm not going to use the word trapped, but you're kind of stuck with it for a pretty significant duration. So if you go read through their program, there's all sorts of things that they offer as far as, they help you build fences as long as you build them to their standards. They pay for you to do some clearing of invasive species of trees and brush. They'll pay you to leave these buffer zones like we have along our drainage canal here. I mean, you name it, there's probably a program for it, and a lot of them are stuff we want to do anyway, but only to a certain extent. So we want to manage our property for wildlife and for our farming, and we really just don't want to be restricted because, like anyone, we're pretty new on this property. We haven't really found our full rhythm, and there are things we may want to change our practices in less than 3 years, and we don't want to owe a bunch of money back to the government for doing that. So we just didn't want to restrict ourselves. Now, some of y'all may be in a completely different boat, and it may make more sense for you. So for us, I think to put our property in the program, the contract they had written up came out to, I'm going to say it was $80,000 for the first 3-year contract. So it's quite a bit of money to do all these projects, but to us, it just wasn't worth the risk of giving up our property, some of the usage rights basically of our property, so we opted not. But now where I really do commend the NRCS was in the fact that even though we decided not to enroll in the program, they still wanted us to participate. And by that I mean they wanted us to do these environmentally friendly practices on our farm. So what they offered us, which I don't know if this is standard practice or if this was just the local area people, what they offered us was the option to have the biologist still come out, evaluate our land, draw up what he thought would be the best practices on our land, and then help guide us through it, but with no financial assistance and no obligations. So that's kind of the route we ended up going. Was I got our, I forget the name of it, I think they called it our conservation plan, all drawn up, and we mostly follow it. And he comes out, evaluates our land, and helps us make the best decisions. So there's all sorts of good information these guys can give you. So for instance, in our area, you can go look up, and there's some generic stuff on how to build fences that are wildlife friendly, but there's all kinds of variations. So for our area, we have mostly white-tailed deer, and they're not really large since we're in the deep south. So it's a slightly different recommendation for what they want us to do with the way we build our fences. So there was 2 or 3 key details on the fences, and we tried it out, and sure enough, it works. I've seen the deer cross our fences like they're not even there, so I know it's working. Some of the other things are like this, where he gives me guidance on when to cut these riparian areas, and we got a couple of fields we leave fallow every year. So he tells us what time of year to cut them, which is now. He wants us to cut those fields once a year, but in February for our area. So it maximizes the benefit for wildlife, but gives us the best use of our property outside of being purely for wildlife. And also, like I said, the reason we really didn't want to enroll is we kind of changed. So for instance, you can see I'm working towards the back of our property, and we have a bunch of land back here on the river. I'm going to show you in just a minute. So to give you some perspective, you can see back there is my red barn, and what I call my south field is around that red barn. And then this is my spoil field. It's kind of hard to see from right here, but here's a big field right here. And then if I just keep going north, I run into a big river, but there's a big high embankment along the river, and I have about 20 acres back there of could be pasture. So for these first couple of years, we've used it mainly as wildlife, and we've let them go fallow. And then I think in the next year or two, we're going to try to get some fences put up where we could start utilizing that at least once a year to graze. So maybe either early spring or into the fall, right before deer season starts, one of the two, or maybe both, I really don't know. But yeah, where we could utilize that. So I'm gonna cut along this ditch, working my way back there, and then I'll show you what it looks like back there in just a minute. All right, so here we are back by this river. You probably can't tell exactly how big it is, but this is a pretty sizable river for back here, where it's about a 15-20 foot deep river. Right here, it's maybe about 250 feet wide, maybe not quite that, 200 maybe. But this is a pretty big river. You'll see big boats coming up and down this river. What we have is we have this high spoil bank, which is about 400 feet wide in most places. You can see right here. And then we have about a mile, not quite a mile. I think it's like 7/8 of a mile of frontage on this river. And then on one side is either woods or swamp, and the other side's the river. So one of our next big projects is maybe to get it where, like I said, get some fences put in where we can get back here with the cows once or twice during the year, and let them graze on this to help improve the soil. Hopefully the vibration for the tractor is not too bad. I'll cut like this. I can watch and see if you can see any wildlife come out. So anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents on the NRCS. They've actually been a very helpful program, but we didn't want to fully enroll in them just because there was a little bit too much commitment that we weren't ready to make. One of the other things they do, so if you've got any wetlands on your property, we have some wetlands, and then we have some areas that are kind of, we'll call intermediate. They're kind of reverted to wetlands, but they're really not. It's just that the drainage ditches are all plugged up and all. But one of the things with NRCS, which I was surprised about, is they didn't want us cleaning up or making any ditches for drainage on our property. They want everything to be real natural. Places that will naturally hold water, they want to let them hold water, even if they're not truly wetlands. And we weren't too crazy about that. We wanted to have areas of our property that were good soil. And what type of soil, we don't want it to hold water. So They really didn't like the idea of that, so we didn't like the idea of them having that lot of control, saying we couldn't put the drainage we wanted in and all. So, you know, just one more reason why we didn't go in. I gotta applaud them because they were very, very accommodating as far as they wanted to help us. They did, you know, with advice and support, even documentation of some best practices. So they really did help us. So I guess I would encourage you to talk to your NRCS office because I know in our area it's hotly debated. There's people, some of my friends, who think you're an absolute moron if you involve the NRCS/government in anything with your property, which I don't fully agree with because some people really do need the financial assistance to really get their farm going. The part those people miss is that you actually do have some good information to help you. So like I said, they helped us lay out our conservation plan, which met our immediate needs, which stuff like this is, you know, helping us manage for wildlife. They're willing to help you manage for cattle operation, all kinds of stuff. If you're into butterflies and birds and those kind of things, they'll set you up with the best pollinator plants and how to manage areas to best fit butterflies and birds and you name it. Whatever it is on your property, they have some pretty good information that can really help you get started. It may not be the end all be all, but it'll certainly help you get started with getting your property going with those types of activities. So I'm going to keep cruising along, and I imagine it won't be until we get down to a narrower area that we'll start seeing some rabbits possibly. We'll see here in just a minute. Alright, so I'm getting to our property line, at least going this direction along the river. I'm going to turn here in a second and we'll cut along the tree line. I haven't seen any deer or rabbits, but I haven't been watching behind me, so I'll go back and review the footage and see if we saw anything. It's off in the right frame, just a little bitty stick. That's our property line going this way. Probably see some debris behind me. We've, like I said, there's a big drainage canal for the parish, and what happened is in 2016 we had a really bad flood in our area. So this little river carried a ton of debris and you know, left it on this high ground right here. So it feels like I picked up about 2 or 3 dumpsters worth of trash back here, and every time I cut, I just keep finding more and more. So you're probably seeing some of those chunks behind me. So it's not us littering, we still just haven't fully cleaned it all up. It's crazy how much is left back here from that one storm. Saw a couple rabbits, and of course this one didn't have camera on. Let's see if we can see another one. pretty cool. I don't know, y'all probably can't tell, but we just had a bald eagle that swooped down by that little river. It's flying off now. I don't think it got anything, but that was really cool to see. Alright, so this is the last little strip I got to cut on this riverbank, and you can see it sure looks pretty. Got a lot of green grass growing underneath all these dead brown weeds, and just kind of shows spring is pretty much here in the deep south. So if we don't get another freeze, we'll be grazing some pretty green grass for too long. Just done. Anyway, that's going to be about it for today. A little bit of property management, like I said, and a few of my thoughts on the NRCS program. You know, maybe what it could do for you, even if you're not interested in having your land tied up in one of these programs. It is something where you could get some benefit. Like I said, I got the benefit of the biologist's input on our property and our management practices without any of the commitment of having my land tied up in one of these programs and owing the government something if I change my mind. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.